He's Jason Clarke, great actor, Zero Dark 30. He was the star of that, or one of the stars, and he portrays Jerry West in the new HBO series about the Showtime Lakers called Winning Time. Jason Clarke joining us on the program. What do people say when they see you on the street?
It's funny. It depends where I am. Like when I fly into the airport, say a lot of the guys are ex-servicemen there, and they've seen Zero Dark 30, so they're always very respectful. And I find that, with every, police officers from Chicago that I wanted, Chicago Code, they're always lovely to me whenever I go there. And on the whole, other than that, a lot of the general public, they don't really understand or know that I'm Australian, or they don't recognize me. Or when somebody do, it kind of like, okay, they're very nice though.
But I asked Keith Urban about this, that he's got that Australian accent. He's from Australia. But I didn't realize it until you talked to him, and then you're like, damn, it just is so strange. And he goes, no, it's not. He goes, the Beatles were from England. And, when they sang, nobody said, oh, they sound like they're from England. How do you make that transition from that accent to just sounding like you're American?
You have to. I mean, it's a blessing actually in my mind, because it makes you not lazy, because you have to do a different accent. The Australian accent is a very way back in the mouth, and how you doing? You can't really understand. It speaks like that, but it makes you do the work, Dan. And that's and I find a person's voice or a person's accent, where they speak from, gives a lot of indication of who they are and what they're about, and how they grew up. For Jerry West, I did the governor of West Virginia. But like his accent is stronger than Jerry's, say. So I will use that to warm up and get my muscles going bigger. And then I'll come back to Jerry's as well to tone it down a bit,
Did you meet Jerry West before playing Jerry West?
No, I met him on your show, watching a lot of stuff, a lot of your interviews, and listening to a lot of your stuff, Dan. I was very excited to talk to you. And I thought about contacting you before we were shooting. But, I knew that you and Jerry were friends, and I didn't want to intrude on him and his business. More than I have. So, it was through, your Westwood, which I loved. It was through your interviews with Jerry over the years, which I listened to we start early on, but now there's a lot of clear pictures of where he's at in 2016. There was an interview that you did. I listened to a lot for his accent and the way he spoke. And then, and Westwood, which I loved, and the final interviews you did with him at the end. Beautiful, really beautiful.
What are you trying to capture with Jerry?
I guess in a funny way, I'm doing my own personal version of West on West, an exploration of this man, this logo, this icon, this little boy from West Virginia, this older man who lost so many people, including Kobe recently, and a man who the thing I loved about his book, Dan, was he kicked it off with this is my exploration of me. And then you'd hear his son, Ryan, read it, which I thought was really beautiful. And that you still see a man trying to understand himself and life and things in it. And that's what it is for me as well, to represent who he was at this particular time when we kick it off in 79, who the writers are writing, and then give some kind of essence of, the heart of what it is like to be, a Jerry West. And as an athlete, I was struck by the way he talked about his issues and his problems. And it wasn't like I'm going to sum it up or everything's solved. He's an ongoing thing, as we all are. And I think we all should be open about and about as we go through life. And that's what I'm doing. This is no end result, or this is no definitive version. Or I think I'm the only person to play Jerry West at this point, am I? I'm not sure.
Probably so. Probably so.
Yeah.
But I was wondering about, as I watched the first episode, you're capturing somebody who is in constant kind of conflict with what he was, who he is. Yeah. He didn't win. It eats away at him. He was MVP, but lost the NBA Finals. Now Jerry Buss is talking about drafting Magic Johnson, and Jerry doesn't want Magic. He wants Sidney Moncrief. Like he's so combustible. Even the scene when he's playing golf and he breaks you break the golf club there. Like everything about him is. It's so intense. Like, how do you tap into what is that I'm trying to kind of unveil?
What is it? I think it's like I care so effing much.
Yeah.
And he talks about that. And I've had my own struggles with that, with the business that I'm in, and your loves. When you love big, of course you're going to get hurt. It takes you a long time to understand that that's okay, though, as well, because it's just, and I can relate to that. He talks about it a lot. I care so effing much. And even at times he tips over into he thinks other people don't care as much, which is a weird judgment as well. And then it leads to a lot of combustibility.
But he talked about that with me a couple of times where he couldn't even watch the games.
Yeah.
He had to drive around Los Angeles during games, that he slept with a shotgun under his mattress because he was going to kill his dad if his dad abused his mom again. I can't imagine he hated losing. I don't think he loved winning. He just hated losing so much.
Yeah.
And, he's one of my favorite people that I've been around, but I didn't play against him. I wasn't trying to be a GM when he was being a GM. Like all the things where you go, man, I don't want to compete with him. And even now you're competing with what our image is of Jerry West. Yeah,
it's funny, Dan. Like, there was an interview he did in 2016 where he was at the Golden State, and he's talking about how he didn't like these players hugging each other and swapping jerseys and all that. You guys are talking about that, and I was actually at the Lakers when they played the Pelicans the other night. I just sat down with John Riley, and the first thing I saw and I noticed, rather than wow, I'm here, I'm courtside, was like, oh, those two players are hugging each other. They're on opposite teams and they're giving each other a hug. Jerry would hate that. What's going on here? You know what I mean? That's not how you kick off this. You guys are on a losing streak. This is going to get, it's a funny way. There's a couple of things I've loved understanding basketball or beginning to and going into it, and I've loved talking to guys like you because there seems to be such a wealth of knowledge and preparedness with the interviewers. Like everyone we've talked to on the sports side of it, and this is not to disrespect it on the film side, but there's just a deeper understanding of discussing it and thinking about it and allowing it to be. And I guess there's more, it's more obvious, black and white than sports, say, with an interpretive art.
We're talking to Jason Clarke. He plays Jerry West in the new HBO series about the Showtime Lakers. You bring up a great point, or a great point is brought up to you about walking like an athlete. And you can see people and they were an athlete or they are an athlete. And when Jerry still walks in, he still looks like that's a star. That's an athlete. He has the long arms. It was just, there's a presence about him that feels almost a throwback in Hollywood, where you're back to the black and white era, and he just looks like a leading man.
People forget Jerry's conducted his life in front of people since high school, since that game in West, you'd say arguably that big game in West, he's conducted himself in front of people for a long, long, long time. And he carries himself in a certain way, absolutely. Does he still train? Does he still exercise? He golfs. I know that.
Golfs, and he plays gin, but he's one of those guys that he always looks like he came out of a catalog.
Yeah, he looks like he looks after himself. He eats well,
Yeah.
And takes care of himself without being too.
It's like if Joe DiMaggio was still alive. That presence that they when they
and he dresses well though too. I love the way he dresses.
No, he's right out of GQ. He's right out of a catalog. but you do know when there's certain actors, and you've been there in the room when you go, oh damn, like somebody walks in and you go, oh what? When I met Michael Douglas, I was like, oh my God, that's a movie star. When he walked in,
it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
One of the things was Heath Ledger. I knew Heath many, many years ago, and Heath always had something about him that was, quite extraordinary. You knew that, something and the camera gravitates to him. People gravitated to him.
Clint Eastwood, when we met him a couple of years ago, we're all nervous. We're like, there's Clint Eastwood. There's Clint Eastwood. And I walked over to him and said, hi, Clint, I'm Dan Patrick. He goes, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you.
and that was it.
Yeah. But he's got it. He's got it amazing. What letters and such. Remember that? I love. I think it was one of my favorite movies. That scene where he's filling up there, hand me that rifle, and the bullets too. Yeah, oh, I'm a writer. And he goes, what letters and such. It's just such a great letters and such.
Outlaw Josie Wales.
He just fired, killed 5 dudes. It was funny. The other thing that was interesting was I really learned to hear Jerry swear on your show too, and some of the outtakes and some of the lead-ins. I heard the first bits of that, which was another key into, the public Jerry and the private Jerry and the relaxed Jerry or the on Jerry, and
It's jarring. It was jarring for me when I heard.
you'd hear. For me as an actor, just like, yes, I can hear him in there now. I'm getting, because he's, and he has to conduct himself as well. When you're talking, when you're courtside at a game or whatever, everyone's watching what you sort of, he's not doing that, but I don't want to see what you're saying anymore because you're on camera and it gets in so close. So, but it was fun because I swear a bit in there, and I go over the top as well. It's with TV and we're reinforcing the legend as well as the reality.
Yeah.
And but it was it was good to hear that. And then there was another guy that worked with him that said, Jerry swears a lot. Language, but,
Jace, congratulations. Great to talk to you. And
thank you, mate.
And good luck with this. And
I'm going to show you something before you go, though, because I've watched your show because I've been listening to it. I put it on my iPod and listen to it all the time. That's how I warm up. Your 2016 interview for starters going on. I warm up by listening to that again and again and again and again and again. But look at this, dude. So
that's the Jerry West bobblehead?
Is it good? Is it good, Jerry? Yeah. Am I doing good? Am I doing okay? Is he going to like me? No, he's not.
Yeah. Are you curious what Jerry thinks of you playing Jerry?
I am. Of course I am. Of course I care. I deeply care. I understand that, you got children, you got to do it. It's a different time now and period, and that there's a lot of concerns, and it's yourself, and, that it's not something that maybe he's welcoming of and everything. And if I ever do meet someone, I reached out of courtesy, but I don't want to talk about it at all. I'd love to have a glass of wine with them and discuss art, or the things or the history. We have a lot of similar interests. And so, I would. I get it, but at the same time, you're Jerry West. I guess you've got to expect that in your heart that somebody sometime is going to play you. And so long as they're not disrespectful, and so long as they're not libelous, it's going to happen when you've done what the man's done. So I'd be more than happy to have a glass of Burgundy and not even bring it up.
Thank you, Jason. Good luck. We appreciate you joining us.
Cheers, mate.
It's Jason Clarke. He plays Jerry West. It's the HBO series.